All right, well, it's been a little while since we did a fix-it video. And I need to, if you've been watching and watched my other videos, it's time to flush all this equipment out. I think I'm probably going to get away from filming that. I don't know. I haven't really been hunting it out at estate sales and whatnot, and so I don't have much more except for push mowers. And I don't think they're going to be exciting to watch videos on, so I think I'll just do a repair-a-thon and show very briefly what was wrong with them. Maybe spend 5 minutes on each mower type thing. But anyway, this is the last other piece of equipment besides a push mower that was due for checking through. So, well, I guess let's drag it into the shop and see what we can find. And when I say drag, I mean drag, because I think the wheels are rusted onto the axle. And I think you have to pull those pins out to get the thing to spin freely. So yeah, we'll be dragging it in. Well, what do we got? Let's find out. You know the order of things, right? Compression, spark, fuel. Everything seems to be here. I guess it has a oil-filled transmission, some kind of screw drive. Let's see. Got any oil in here? Yeah. At least I don't see water in it. Well, hello. Yeah, it's on the low end, but it's got oil. I mean, it's all the way at the low end, but some oil. What do we got in here? Well, that's a good sign. I don't know if the camera's showing it, but it is empty. And let's see what else. Motor not seized, and I think I did feel a little compression, so, well, I guess let's shove a little 2-second fuel down its mouth and just see if it'll pop off. Now, let me check the spark plug with a spark tester. Then we'll drizzle a little fuel and see if it pops off after I take the belt off. Check. Before cleaning. After. The spark's good. All right. Well, after what I just said about let's try to start the engine, see if it pops off. No, I went and did the right thing, which means fool around with everything else. I pulled out approximately 4,678 pounds of wrapped up plastic and twine and dirt. And I still can't get the wheels freed up from the shaft. I'm pretty confident the engine's gonna run. And then I thought, well, even if it doesn't, I probably can replace it with some engine that I have elsewhere if it's got problems. But it's got spark, it's got compression. I'm not worried about it. But I do have to get those wheels. Well, I don't actually have to get the wheels freed up from the shafts, but you do if you want to be able to wheel it around. You gotta take that pin off, slide the rim in, and then put the pin back on so the rim can't fall off, but it just freewheel spins on the axle. And that's how you, I guess, move it out to the guard into position. But anyway, let's see here. Looky. Put a old socket on there. So, at least I have confidence that the rest works. And of course I looked it up and put the correct fluid in there. Nope. Put some ATF fluid that I had laying around. But obviously some lube's better than none. It was really stiff at first. I used a socket wrench and just put a little tension on it and then whapped on it with a hammer. There was so much crud wrapped around back there that any oil, I mean, it just got sucked out by all the dust that was in there and the dirt caked on it right at that seam. So it took a light duty freeing up, but yeah, Then after I got the ATF in there and spun it around about once, whatever the gummy spot was started to free up, and yeah, spins freely now. The belt's probably, you can imagine, in fantastic shape, so I'm sure that that's ready to go. Pretty much, it's just go through the fuel system. I guess I should have, just for fun, like I said, drizzled 2-cycle oil gas mix down the engine and just give it a brrr, just to see, but I didn't, and now I'm obsessed with getting those wheels to spin, so that's next. Well, then I can wheel it outside easy, you see, to try to start the engine. I don't feel like dragging it in and out 5 times. Anyway, moving on. All right, Dan, here's where we're at. I'm pretty sure that's gonna start. I'm not really worried about it. Wait a minute. Is that where the carburetor goes? I never even looked, and it doesn't exist now. Whew, that's where the air cleaner goes. There's Mr. Carburetor. No air cleaner. We'll have to fabric cobble. Anyway, I beat the tar out of this thing and got, well, despite my best efforts, it's a solid shaft as far as I know, so I figured tip it over on its side, put a big socket on it, and smash it and get the rims to go in a little to break the rust free. Now I don't know how to get them out, and the shaft did slide in the transmission a little, so I don't know how the gears are held on in there. I had to tap it back to the center position, but I'm assuming there's gonna be a need, I'm gonna have to take it apart and find a set screw and retighten that or something. But, well, my thoughts on it were, the thing's useless if you can't move it. I thought nobody's gonna buy this in the spring if you can't, operate it. If you can't pull the pins, running around like normally, wheel it out to your garden, then put the pins back in and drive position and use it, that it doesn't matter if the motor works or not. Because how are you gonna physically drag this thing if the wheels don't turn all the way out to your garden? Or are you gonna wanna run it in gear with the drive going and the tines going, because you can't turn one off all the way there and maybe catch it on something? That's just stupid. So I'm only in this for $12.50, and I figured that I'm gonna have to get those axles to work, get those hubs freed up on the shaft, or the thing's useless. So that's what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna have to figure something out. I tried heating it and beating it. That didn't work either. I tried a pipe wrench going opposite directions, so you're not, putting pressure on the gear inside. That couldn't get it to turn that way either. So somehow it has moved. Both of them have on the shaft, because they weren't sticking out like that before. Now they are on both sides. I got to get them to go the other way, and then I think I can slip it off. Can't use a gear puller. It's a rubber tire. I'm almost thinking I need to get a big heavy plate of steel that has a slot in it or something, or a triangular shape, something that I can hook the gear puller to on the back side of the tires, so they're on the metal rims, ideally on the hub, and then I think a gear puller would pull it right off, but the geometry of things does not make that possible right now, so I need ideas. I'm going to have to put this project aside and ponder on that a while. All right. Oh my God, this thing's got me temporarily defeated. Look at this. I even split the rim, trying to get something happening. Oh my God, I don't even want to talk about what happened over here. It's too horrible to speak of. It involved gear pullers and welding things, and it's a whole deal. So I can get the rims to slide in the shaft a little. See, it's in some, it was out some before. I've given up for right now. But I still think this machine's not really sellable until I get those rims finished to where they'll come off of here. So it is what it is. I'm not giving up completely, but holy cow. I had to put it aside and move on to other things. It was too frustrating. I felt like I had the whole shop out in a pile. Welders and grinders and just, yeah. My plan was, I can weld, not very well, but good enough. what I figured was if I get these split off of here somehow and just physically get them removed and I don't tear up the shaft, I should be able to sand the shaft smooth. I'll be able to weld the crack back shut on these hubs. Doesn't have to look pretty. It's just got to be round and a hole drilled through it where you can put the pin in to operate just like it's supposed to, where you can slide them in, roll it to the garden, put the pins in, do your tilling. So it's not over. It's gonna get done one way or the other, and I'm hoping I can save the tires and rims so I don't have to spend any money. So it's coming, it's coming. All right, I got a new plan. There she is. And then there's many failed attempts to get the hubs off. They do move a little when you beat on it. So without tearing up the transmission, I'm gonna take the cover off the top, take out the whatever set screw is that holds the woodruff key on there. It'll allow the shaft to slide left and right. I'm gonna take off these E-clips. I'm gonna sterilize the shaft that's visible there. Hopefully I can push it one way or the other so that I have clearance where the tire there meets the frame. And then I'm gonna beat the hub all the way onto the now smooth, clean part of the shaft. Then hopefully I can clean up the outside part of the shaft, sand it lightly, and be able to, you know, wiggle / pull them off. So that's the plan. I mean, looking at the width of the hub, I have to be able to slide that shaft one way or the other to have enough room to push it completely off of whatever it's sitting on in order to sand it. So hopefully it'll work. That's the new plan. Let's see what happens. It's got to be better than what's happened so far. Well, let's see what's going on in there. Uh-oh. Faster. Faster. Hopefully, well, so I took the 2 E-clips off. I haven't tried to do anything else yet. Look in here, and there's got to be some set screw that screws down through the worm gear into there's that little fella, nice and dirty, but you know. Well, there it is. That doesn't help us. I need to get access to the other side of it. But the gear looks good. Worm gear looks good, I think. So, better flip it over and look underneath. Well, hamstrung again. This case does not come apart. So if you can't see the gear and set screw from the top, there's no way to get it down here. So it must be a case of you've got to take that end plate out over there, disassemble the whole machine, pull off the pulley in the front, and slide the shaft out of there. I don't want to do all that. I'm going to try, I guess, to just clean up the shafts as much as there is and see what happens if we drive this hub forward onto that space, if we can get it cleaned up enough. Well, I mean, shoot, think about it. It's 90% of the surface area would be cleaned up then, wouldn't it? That's the plan. We're going to use that to start with, clean it up, and then tip it on its side, put something heavy under here, put a socket on the other side, and drive the top hub down onto the shaft and see what happens. Okay, there's nothing for it but to tip it on the side, give it the old 10-pound sledge. All right, hope for the best. Oops. You're supposed to be watching. Tell me when it goes. Wow, that went actually shockingly easier than I thought. You know what? Something tells me I need some WD-40. Okay. Whoop. Definitely moved. Yeah. It's going. God dang, though, it's not really getting any looser. Well, I don't know what else to do about it except this, so I guess we're gonna keep going. Oh, there it went sailing, didn't it? Give me that sucker back. Give me that, Oh, you dirty dog. Why? Well, I just never. Now the socket's stuck, you see. Oh, have mercy. Oh. Now, how could it get stuck part? Oh my God. Well, fun as it would be, I don't think you guys need to watch me suffer with that. Let me get that off of there. All right, there it is. Same treatment. Let me hit that with the wire wheel all the way around it, and hopefully this thing will decide to move the other direction. All right, then. I WD-40'd it. Oh my God. Well, it's obviously moving. Will it move past the end, or did I mushroom it out? Okay, that's mushroomed, so you can tell that. But come on, live with that. Now, I knew I'd gack whistle that up when I cut it. That's okay. That's an easy weld. I ain't worried about that. So, let me hit this mushroomed cap with a file, and that rim should slip off. The other one I think is going to be a trick, simply because the shaft doesn't stick out far enough. I can't clean the whole length of it. Hopefully whatever percentage I can get will be enough for the job. So let's see what happens. Oh, boop, Shazam. What a pain in the pickle. All right, then. I guess. Oh, that was full of dirt. That's nice. Well, I'm sure we've botched that oil seal. Oh, I can see it's gapped open over here. So I'm sure we pillaged it. Well, there's nothing for it except do the other side. Oh, God. Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully that's enough length that it will free this up. But God, I got my doubts. I don't know, man. Well, can't broke it. Can't broke it more than broke. All right, here's the abomination we're left with. So you can't really get the angle to drill the hole out, hardly. I mean, it's gonna be a struggle to get those holes cleaned up, but I'm going to re-weld the parts that I cut with the grinder to get it off. I wish now I just done what I did at the end, but well, you know, sometimes you don't know. I'm going to weld both those up, cut all this garbage off that I had welded on before. This hub is now bent. See what I mean? And I'm going to stick that in the hydraulic press after I weld it and just press down on, you know, this side and have this side supported. And fiddle. Anyway, let me clean those up. When I finally got that done, I got the oil seals banged back in. Everything's good on the machine otherwise. Then we can finally move on to the motor. So, seems like we went backwards, but like I said earlier in the video, I felt like if you couldn't roll the machine to where you wanted to use it, it would never sell. Or I wouldn't want to keep it. I may keep this machine, I don't know, but we'll see. I guess we got to see how the motor runs too, but I'm not going to film all this. Like I said, I'm just going to clean these up, make the wheels functional again, get them back on the machine, and then I can roll it in here and start fooling around with the engine. Aw, like it never happened. Oh, don't look at that. Hideous. I was hoping the ugly part wouldn't be sticking up. But anyway, it's fixed. It works. Those pins won't work. I'm going to manufacture these to look like that one. Cut them shorter, drill a hole, and use a small clevis pin, just like the original, and call it a day. I was able to get the rim bent back straight too from where I was reefing on it, so it rolls pretty good. I think we can proceed with the engine repairs. I think I have the wheels on backwards too. Yeah, I know I do. No problem. All right, engine time. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Wheels done, pins done. That thing's been bent back. So I can't believe somebody would operate it like that and hadn't bent it back yet. Now the tines can't physically hit it when they're spinning. Know what I mean? Dirt just bangs up against this and it flops out backwards, but you should have no reason for this to get tucked under there and jammed into the tines. I can't believe somebody would not have bent it back before, but whatever. Next thing I'm gonna do, I said engine, but I was lying. See this sloppiness? I'm gonna work on getting those bolts undone and tightening up the ship. I want, you know, the whole chassis solid before I go putting the motor on it, so that's next. Alright, so carb looks actually pretty dang clean. I don't think it's gonna take that much. The guy ran it with no air filter. And anyway, took off the two things. I have to put a little super glue stuff. There's a crack on the boot on that end. It's not the end of the world, but I mean, is it no wonder why this thing ran poorly? Where'd it go? Well, here it is. That's the shape of the gasket. That's the hole the gasket was over. Does that seem like enough air would get through there? No. We'll make a new gasket. But anyway, check this out. What is that little fella? That's not supposed to be in there. It's a freaking bug. I can already tell. I think it was one of those carpenter bees. I can't tell for sure, but whatever it is, it's a bug that doesn't belong in there. Interesting. She gone now. All right, let me get this cleaned up. You don't need to watch me sit here and scrub this with a brush. Myself. It's like a sickness. Got to have, you know, non-rusty looking mufflers. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's a thing. That thing is not sticking well. Maybe I didn't take it good enough. Thought I did. Yeah, I did. It's just, there's probably oil up in there and, well, you know. Beautiful. Alright, I'm gonna fuss again. Poor design. You know, you can never trust this stuff. And in order to save yourself much headache, right? A good thing to do is put in a fuel filter and a fuel shutoff. That way at the end of the season, if you've still got gas in the tank, you could stabilize it, but you don't want gas sitting in the carburetor. So as it's running, you can kill the fuel, turn on the fuel shut off the fuel, and let it run till it quits. That means the carburetor is empty. That means the hydrophilic ethanol in your fuel if you buy regular standard gas, which most people do for their lawn equipment, unless you're smart enough to get the super expensive no ethanol stuff, which you can, but it's still not a good idea to even have any fuel in the carburetor over the winter. Just it's better to have, well, what's my point? You can't. In this design, even though I replaced the fuel line, that's it. It goes straight to the tank, straight in. There's no room to put, there's not like, 6 inches of hose that you can put in a fuel filter and a fuel shutoff. There's nothing. There's that. So whatever gas is in here, you've got to run it out. Or with a tiny, very hard to flex tube, you have to try to pull that off and just separate the tank, I guess, in the winter, which is just, that sounds terrible. So anyway, it's poor design. Once it's clean, it's going to run just fine, but if somebody leaves this sit over a winter, they're going to probably struggle. Let's get it back together. I'm not going to film myself put in the needle and everything. Well, yeah, I probably will. Never mind. Okie doke, I think we're in business. Everything's put back on. I think I mentioned, but I didn't show, that crankcase rebreather tube boot. Yeah, I just Scotch welded that. It's a 3M product. The thing works great for rubber stuff. You don't even have to clean the oil off. It'll do it. If you have one crack, I mean, if the whole thing's rotten, your pooch. Anyway, everything's back on. Carburetor's back on. I rinsed out the fuel tank before I put it on. I added oil. I know we already checked the spark plug and compression and all that, so there's nothing for it except to stick it back on the rig, get the belt on it. Actually, maybe leave the belt off to start with. I don't know. Anyway, mazel, take it outside and try to start it. And then I think we're done. Let's see what happens. Just a comment. What has to go through somebody's mind? They ran this a long time by the amount of filth with no filter or cover. Now you could do that on maybe a snowmobile, right? There's no dust. But this is literally made to break up the ground and make dust. I just can't understand why somebody would run it in that state of affairs, but they did. I mean, shoot, couldn't you find a gym sock or something to stretch over the hole? I don't know. Anyway, total cost for this rig. Oh, I just see that piece is broken out. That's probably where the air cleaner went. I could, for about $25, get the filter and the plastic piece that holds the filter on, which I now see won't hold it on because the mount's broke. So I refuse. I'm going to cut a hunk of foam and position that over this thing somehow, but not for starting purposes. We can test it because we're not making dust. Let's try it, see what happens. I'm gonna mount it on the chassis first. Yep, nope. So through the process of torture to get those wheels off and fixed, that got bent. Can you see it? I don't exactly know how I even did it, but the mount holes don't line up, so that's gotta get bent back. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm thinking I have to tip it over, maybe squeeze a floor jack in there. I don't have anything that's made to, squeeze something apart that's in that narrow of a space. Maybe a floor jack? I don't know. Maybe if I put a big solid hunk of metal on that, and then put a floor jack between it, it will only bend the other side. I don't know. One way or the other, it's got to get bent back or the engine can't go back on it. Well, there's nothing left but to try it. In my flip-flops, too. I don't care. I don't want to give it much gas, but some. Is that enough? I hope. I think that'll get to the bottom of the tank. All right. Let's see here. Let's give it choke and full throttle. Yeah. Lever that the wheels were spinning like they're supposed to. Definitely seems to burn a little oil, but who knows? After we let it run for a while, who knows? Oops, the belt vibrated off.